Back in the day, computers were sort of unheard of. In fact, there was no computer science department. And when I first showed up on campus in 1967 in the summer, it was June, and there was only one air-conditioned building on campus, and it was the computer center. And so I said, I think I want to work there. And so I got a job as a machine operator. We took care of the IBM 7044, which was about 6 feet high, 4 feet wide, 12 feet long, still had tubes in it, and had 32K main memory. It took $7,000 a month to air condition it during the summer. But it was quite an experience. So in the Valley of the Blind, the one-eyed computer operator is king. And when we came around to having to deal with data, being basically lazy, if you've ever done a chi-square on a free mechanical calculator, you understand the value of computers quickly. During the summers, I had a job with one of my professors, Mike Micklin, to go down to Columbia. I had a few words of Spanish and what have you, and work doing surveys down there. That was, I really loved Cali, Columbia. It was a wonderful place in those days, kind of a colonial, parochial place, but very open and very warm. And because of my darkish hue, they basically didn't let me get away with not learning Spanish pretty well. So I can basically pass in Spanish pretty much anywhere. So I spent, 2.5, 3 years doing that, and then came up to dissertation time and was doing my dissertation. I was comparing the basically innovation and modernization of 3 developing economies, Chile, Colombia, Venezuela, and Louisiana. By the way, Louisiana did not come out on top in that comparison. Back to work in New Orleans with the Department of Epidemiology and Biostatistics. My office was so small that you could not have anybody else in it at the same time. So it was called the dead chicken room. And that's where they used to keep the dead chickens for the virologists. And I moved from there to, within the department. I stayed in the department until I was chair of the department about let's see, that would have been 72, so it would have been about 84, something like that, 83. Then wound up headed to Kinshasa to start a school of public health in the Congo, what was in the Zaire. Came back, started the Department of International Health at Tulane, and then became vice president and chief information officer for a few years. And then on to the Payson Center for International Development.
Someone asked me what my favorite story was about Bill. I would say that in 1978-79, he invited representatives from 12 universities to come to Tulane to talk about a newly funded program. It was the Hubert H. Humphrey Fellowship Program. This program was going to bring mid-career professionals from all over the world to study at U.S. universities. We had the first meeting at Tulane in one of the little conference rooms there with these 12 representatives from the universities. They were all white-haired, older gentlemen, men. And there's Bill, still with his nice dark hair, and me. Bill said, Penny, I want you to come on board. I want you to be our university coordinator. So here's these 12 other representatives who are going to be the coordinators on their campus, who are all white men. And that, for me, set the tone of what Bill Bertrand was willing to do for the people that he worked with. It wasn't going to always be Bill's project. It would be like he would be developing an idea, but then he wanted you to run with it. And he was willing to invest in people that he thought could take it and run with it. And I did it for the next 30 years, and I loved it. And I have to say that I really owe Bill a debt for believing in me before I even really believed in myself. Maybe that's one of the strengths that Bill had, was to see in people the skills and the strengths that they had before maybe even they realized it. I mean, I was only 2 years out of my MPH when he first tapped me to work on stuff.
An increasingly bureaucratized and, how shall I put it, stovepiped academe I guess the one piece of advice that I would give is don't pay too much attention to the limits that you're being confronted with and the details of bureaucratic life. By and large, you won't be rewarded for those. You'll be rewarded for your independent and creative thought and the fact that you've done things differently and that you've done things. And so, all of those, how should we put it, standards will be set in front of you, and it's important to pay enough attention to them to get by, but think about doing important things rather than doing things. And I think if I had to say anything to anyone at this point, it would be reach out, experiment, try new things. Don't be afraid of standing out. Don't be afraid of getting shot at bureaucratically, because by and large, universities are based upon the model of the 3rd century monastery, not exactly an institution known for rapid change.
Bill once said to me, he said, "Penny, I'm going to drag you into the 20th century kicking and screaming, but you are going to learn computers." And the truth was, I knew nothing at all about computers. I mean, I remember punching cards in undergraduate and taking them over to the computer lab so they could run them through the Fortran program. That's all I knew. And when we started out working with Bill in 78, 79, we had a telex machine. That was how we communicated with Zaire, a telex machine. Then we got a fax machine. And at the same time, we were more or less getting these desktop computers. And Bill would say, he said, "Kicking and screaming, Penny Jessup has been dragged into the 20th century." And it's true, he really moved the School of Public Health into technology that they never would have envisioned that they could really take a grasp of that and use it. I remember ordering these portable computers for the Zaire School of Public Health project that were the size of Singer sewing machines, like a portable Singer sewing machine. And then I had to order these power converters, which were the size of car batteries, so that the computer could be hooked up to the machine that could then be hooked up to the car battery on the Land Rovers to run these computers. I mean, Bill was bringing computers to Zaire at the same time that we were getting them at the School of Public Health. You know, that sense of, we were all going to rise up in this boat together. And I think that to me was, he really was very much a mover and shaker in terms of getting the technology to us and to the people in his projects. And finally, I really think one of the things that's fundamental to Bill's legacy is the great number of faculty, students, and staff that he touched during their careers. He mentored them with grace, with humor, there's no doubt about it, with humor, but at the same time with a very serious side to the work that we were going to be doing together.
A couple of my old graduate students are now Harvard professors, and so they've given me a visiting scientist appointment at Harvard, and I'm trying to teach a course with them up there at the moment with the Harvard Humanitarian Initiative. I've been playing a bit with doing some eco-edu-tourism, since I believe that probably the most important part of my legacy, if you will, in terms of teaching, had to do with getting people out of the comfortable environment that they were in the university and into the field. And I think that is even more important as I see the United States becoming more and more polarized, mostly out of ignorance of what the rest of the world is about. So I'm going to try to play around a bit with that and go fishing too. I tend to get bored easily, and so it was nice to be able to move. Although all the time employed by Tulane, I've had half a dozen different careers, and I've enjoyed all of them.
I have to share this story because this story comes back time and time again. One time, Bill invited the Humphrey Fellows, we were 12 at the time, I think, to come down to his cabin in the bayou, the Cajun cabin down in the bayou, for lunch. So I organized the van, I got everybody down there, we're just outside the cabin, and Bill's kind of up on the porch. And he says, "Oh, welcome, so glad you came. Now, would you please go out and catch lunch?" And they went, "What?" These were mid-career professionals. They were all in their 30s. Many of them had 10 or 12 years experience in the professional life. They were physicians, nurses. And here is the chair of the department telling them, "Just go out and catch your lunch." So we got in these boats, we went out and we caught our lunch and we brought it back, and Bill cooked it all up and everything in true Cajun fashion. He had some other stuff on the side ready for us, but we did catch our lunch. And there are still Humphrey Fellows to this day who repeat that story. And they repeat it with real pride that they went and caught their own lunch. But he wants people to feel like they're really welcome and they're a part of what's happening. Not that you come to my house and I lay out this big spread. No, you come to my house and we work together. We make things happen together. And I think that carried over into his project work. He didn't go into Zaire and say to them, "Look, this is how you need to organize the School of Public Health and A, B, C, D, E." No, he met with the Zairians and he said, "How do you want your School of Public Health to be? What do you want it to accomplish?" And I think that's really emblematic of how Bill operates. It's inspiring in many ways for the people that he's had a chance to work with, because he didn't step in as the big expat with all of the, all the knowledge and he's going to bring all the. No, he stepped in as Bill Bertrand from the Bayou, who said, "Let's go catch lunch together." It's just, to me, that story really tells the story of who Bill Bertrand is.
The term mentor is always confusing to me because I've generally learned as much as I have given to just about everybody that I've been involved with, both students and otherwise. So I think the real important thing is not being a mentor or not, but sharing experience. And shared experience becomes the basis for communication, for understanding, and for crossing those cultural barriers that we all face when we deal with people who come from a different background. And so I've tried to encourage shared experience, and by sharing those experiences, have learned from just about everybody I've dealt with.
There are untold numbers of us who walked a career path, and we ended up on that path walking in that direction because Bill walked part of the way with us. And I think that is a legacy that all of us would wish for our own lives, that there would be, we can build the School of Public Health in Zaire, we can have a department in the Tulane School of Public Health, but it's not the same as the lives that Bill molded and sent out into the world. And those people are his legacy.
I guess the thing that I would probably wind up with are the things that I'm proudest of in terms of my long séjour with Tulane, over 50 years. And that would be mostly my graduate students. I consider them really the legacy that I have left. The schools of public health that I helped build around the world are important, but I kind of put that in the same category. But probably close to 100 PhD students are out there wandering around. Many of them retired already, but they're the ones I'm proudest of. They've done great things, and they've gone great places, and they've inspired a whole bunch of people, and I can't think of anything I would rather take credit for than that.